Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Seth Meyers, clinical psychologist. In this video, I am going to discuss the fourth repeated pattern in relationships that often sink relationships. I have been recording a series on repeating negative relationship patterns, repeating those bad relationship patterns where a person gets stuck repeating the same thing over and over and over again and finding themselves in relationships that never work out, that always end up failing. And then you end up feeling like you're left with a broken heart, feeling frustrated, and really not getting the relationship that you want. So, I wrote a book specifically on this topic, Overcome Relationship Repetition Syndrome. And in the book, I talk about how I have identified four different patterns that people often repeat when they get stuck repeating these bad relationship patterns. And so in the other videos, I have talked about the other three different types, and that is emotional chasing, idealizing the external, and of course, rescuing wounded souls. So I talked about those, but today, in this video, I am going to talk about the fourth and final pattern that a lot of people engage in that lead to their relationships failing. And that is sacrificing yourself, sacrificing yourself. And I'll talk a little bit about what that means in a moment. But I want to make sure that everyone understands the ultimate point here. And that is, if you are someone who finds that the relationships that you are having keep ending, that you keep having relationships that aren't working out for you, it is often a sign that there may be one particular pattern that you are repeating. And that's why I wrote this book, and I'll show you here. It's called Dr. Seth's Love Prescription, Overcome Relationship Repetition Syndrome. And you can figure out, is one of these patterns the pattern that I repeat? And as soon as you have some understanding about what your behavior is all about, that's when you can go about looking for the solutions to try to change it. And it is possible. It is possible. And I can share a little personal information. Years ago, I too had trouble finding relationships that were the right ones for me. And I found myself repeating a relationship pattern that was bad. What I did is I took action to try to make things better. And it is possible. People can have negative relationships in the past, but then they can figure out why they did it, take steps to attract better relationships, and they can find they really can change in this way. So change is really possible. So now I am going to talk a little bit more about this pattern, sacrificing yourself, because it's an important one. It is an important one. If you find yourself sacrificing yourself in your romantic relationships, it really means you need help to try to figure out what's broken and how to heal. So let me give you some examples about how it looks when a person sacrifices themselves in a relationship. And in this video, I will talk about the person who does this pattern as the sacrificer. The sacrificer repeatedly has partners who emotionally, psychologically, or physically abuse them or neglect them. The sacrificer has noticed that they tend to have partners whose mood can leap from one moment to the next. And it can be a very upsetting and sometimes even scary experience. The sacrificer often fears that one false move could lead to their partner getting triggered and starting the cycle of some type of abuse to occur. The sacrificer, which could be a man or a woman, but often ends up being a woman, the sacrificer often sees herself as being trapped in the relationship. And she feels trapped in that she feels too guilty sometimes to leave, and also too afraid of what might happen to her or what her partner might do if she did try to leave. The sacrificer sometimes may try to excuse their partner's abusive behavior and tell themselves that it only happened once or that it won't happen again. They may say to themselves things like, it only happens once in a while or when he gets really mad. But the truth is that these situations can be physically dangerous for that individual. And it's really important to make sure that you are in a relationship where you're safe. Sometimes the sacrificer can even start to question whether they are going insane. They may feel so overwhelmed and confused by the roller coaster of emotions in these relationships that they have. Their partners often are very effective at blaming them and saying that it's their fault, the reason why they get so upset, why they neglect them, or why they abuse them. So it can really cause the sacrificer to question themselves, to question reality, and really do a serious job on their self-esteem. Finally, one of the most serious consequences of sacrificing in a relationship is that the sacrificer often comes to lose their grasp on what is normal behavior in a relationship. They have been forced to accept certain relationship behavior that is really wrong and abnormal and troubling. They have been forced to accept that for so long that they often lose their grasp on what is considered normal behavior in a relationship. Those are some of the main behaviors that someone who sacrifices themselves in a relationship engage in. One of the most important things that anyone can do who finds themselves sacrificing themselves in a relationship is to seek professional help. Getting mental health services and treatment and even ensuring physical safety is the most important thing that you can do when this is a pattern that you find yourself repeating. Safety matters above all else. I will post a link to a really good resource for services in the comments for this video. And please, please, always keep yourself protected. Always keep yourself safe. I hope this video has been helpful for you. And I really wish you the best as you are struggling with this kind of relationship issue.